And now, Move the Sticks with Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks.
What's up, everybody? I'm Bucky Brooks, and I am with Lance Zerline, and we are going to take the Move the Sticks podcast today. And today, we're going to go through each division, and we're going to talk about which teams are best positioned to threaten the division winner based on the moves that they made via the draft, free agency, and all the things that they've done over the course of the offseason. But before we get to that, Lance, how you doing, my man?
I'm good. I'm catching up a little bit. The wife is out of town. She ran the London Marathon. As you know, we talked about it. And so now me and my two boys, we went to the playoff game yesterday and saw the Rockets beat the Warriors, got to talk to Hakeem Olajuwon for a little bit. So life is good. We just have to clean up this house before the wife gets home.
Oh, yeah. Better hurry up and get to it. Yeah, better hurry up and get to it because no one wants to deal with the rest.
We can do everything. We can make it perfect, and she's going to find flaws with it. So I already know.
You already know. But the good thing is you're sitting on a dub, fresh off the Rockets, getting that impressive win against the Warriors. And there are a couple of teams in the draft that got dubs based on what they did over the course of the offseason. So let's kind of talk about that. Last year, the AFC East, the Buffalo Bills have been the team that have really reigned supreme over that division. When you look at the Jets, the Dolphins, the Patriots, of those three teams, who is the biggest threat to knock off the Buffalo Bills?
You know, the easy pick is going to be to say the Dolphins, but when I look at what they like, I don't know that the Dolphins did a lot to make themselves better right now. So let me say the Jets. I'm going to make a surprise pick, and I'm going to say if they get the best out of Justin Fields, I think the Jets probably know who Justin Fields is better than the Bears did. I think they're going to be more in line with running a type of offense that's best for Justin Fields, probably more run heavy, honestly. And they got guys like Mason Taylor, Azariah Thomas, the press corner out of Florida State. They got Malachi Moore, who I know they think he's got a chance to start right away. And, of course, Armand Membu, who I think steps in at right tackle. So I actually think, they already had talent. To me, Bucky, they had talent on the defensive side anyway. They had some pieces in place. Maybe the Justin Fields moves along with this draft, which has some help now players. Maybe it's the Jets over the Dolphins.
It's funny. You talk about the Jets and what they've done, and you're right. I believe AG, Aaron Glenn, knows exactly how to utilize Justin Fields because Fields was a thorn in his side when he was the defensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. I am hoping that he finds a way to unlock the former first rounder because he's supremely talented. We just haven't seen him kind of play at his best because I'll be honest, I don't know if anyone has fully believed and really built an offense around who he is and what he brings to the table. So I like the Jets as a pick for that. But I'm going to go with the Patriots. And the reason I'm going with the Patriots is because the Mike Vrabel factor. I just know the years that I've been in that division, watching Mike Vrabel take these underdog teams, these undermanned teams with the Tennessee Titans, and completely muck up the game and find ways to win games. He, to me, now has I would say, like a more talented team that he's taken over. You can talk about having a quarterback in place in Drake May and immediately surrounding him with Will Campbell, bringing in Travion Henderson, Kyle Williams. Look, they have upgraded the personnel around him. And then you add a Stephon Diggs, all the moves that they made over the course of the offseason to bring veterans in to help that offense and defense. To me, man, the Giants, not the Giants, the Patriots are a sleeping giant in that division because we've seen Mike Vrabel do this. I think he has enough firepower to kind of find a way to bring the Buffalo Bills back to them, closer to them, and that gives them a chance to kind of win the division just based on what they've done.
Yeah, I would agree that they, I guess for me it was a matter of have they done enough? Like, do they have enough there? Is Drake May ready? In terms of improvement, I would 100% agree with you. They're much improved. They had a good draft. I like what they did at head coach. And there's no doubt that I think they're ready to take a step. The question is, can you take a big enough step? I think realistically, it's going to be hard to catch the Bills. If we're being realistic from the standpoint of 1 through 10, I think it's a 3. We can assess that with some of the other teams, like, in the AFC North, for example. Bucky, you have the Bengals who had Shamar Stewart early, Demetrius Knight, who can help them right away at linebacker. You had the Browns. We know what the Browns did. They had a very productive draft, but there's questions about their quarterback position and how that's going to pan out. How did you see the Ravens are the team to catch? The Bengals, the Browns, and the Steelers. How do you see it? Who's got the best shot of catching them?
It's funny, man, because like when I look at the Bengals and all the things that they've done, like, I mean, people have been unimpressed with their moves, but in my mind, I'm saying that the Bengals are going to use their offense to be their best defense. And so the moves that they've made to help themselves on defense, like bringing Shamar Stewart over, look, it's a huge boom or bust pick in my estimation. But if he pops and really explodes and becomes a pass rusher that many of us think that he could become based on his tools, man, he could be a dominant player for them. You think about putting him opposite of Trey Hendrickson, you got to like that. But then I'll say this team doubling down at linebacker. Demetrius Knight from South Carolina and Barrett Carter from Clemson. Barrett Carter was a guy that people talked about being a second-round pick at one point. You now have two young linebackers that can kind of find ways to get on the field, and then you kind of back that up with a running back that no one is talking about in Taj Brooks. Watching him at the East West Shrine all week, I mean, this dude has stop-start quickness, burst, compact, thick frame. The Bengals, to me, are the team that can close ground, not necessarily because of what these guys are going to give them immediately, but because their offense is so good that these young guys playing under Al Golden should be able to kind of make enough plays to help this defense get back on track.
I'm with you. I think that, you have to look at this in totality. The question is who can catch, has the best chance of catching him after the draft. And I think the Steelers really helped themselves with Derek Harmon, Jack Sawyer, Caleb Johnson. I think they all fit. Yaya Black, I think, is a good fit in the fifth round for what they're trying to do. They really upgraded their defensive line or certainly refreshed it. But, I don't know what they're doing at quarterback over there. And until Aaron Rodgers gets
that's
there,
hard.
I think you have to say the Bengals because, as you mentioned, I love Demetrius Knight. I love what they did. But what they already have in place, I think, is dangerous enough. So I'm with you. I'm going to go Bengals on that one.
Okay, so I know you're in H-Town. You're putting it down. The Texans are the reigning champs. C.J. Stroud and company look really, really good. They did a really good job with their draft. So this team is well positioned to win another division title. But when you look around the rest of the division, who's closest ground?
Well, I'm going to say the Colts. It's tough because I think the Titans are still pretty far away. I like some things the Jaguars did, and you may end up talking about that. I don't know. But I look at the Colts, and the Colts have a lot of pieces on offense and on defense. The problem the Colts have is we don't know what's going to happen with their quarterback. Well, to that end, you gave Anthony Richardson or Jones,
Danny
Daniel
Dimes.
Jones. You gave him Tyler Warren. And, you've got – if you take a look at that team, you've got Pittman and Pierce, and you got Josh Downs, you got Jonathan Taylor. You got a lot over there. A.D. Mitchell, we'll see what he does in year two. Now you added a ready-made tight end who can play right now, help your run blocking, help your pass catching. So, and then you add JTT to Molua. Okay, I need Mike Yam to come pronounce that for me.
I like that. You need Mike Yam to come up in there.
I need Mike Yam to come. I need to call in a reliever.
JTT.
Let me get the reliever here. JTT. I think those two guys, we can talk about the rest of it. Justin Wally, I think, helps for sure in the secondary. They needed help. DJ Giddens, I think, steps right into a backup running back role. But I think the Colts already had a lot of pieces. It's just that quarterback spot is just a really huge question mark. But I'm not sure that the Jags and Titans can make up enough ground on the Texans even after the draft. It may be 2 years before we're answering that question with those two teams.
Yeah, it's funny because I am going to talk about the Jags because they're so excited about the guys that they brought on board. They talk about the great intangibles that Travis Hunter brings on top of the playmaking and all that stuff. People can talk about him in nauseam in terms of how he is a thermostat guy, changes the temperature of the room when he walks in. They love that. But it's Caleb Ranshaw that they've talked about in the secondary that helps them, plays opposite Tyson Campbell, potentially could be a really good fit. But, hey, I'm going to give you a guy to watch in terms of being maybe a surprise starter. Wyatt Millum from West Virginia. They think that he has a chance to come in there and jump right into the starting lineup if he takes care of business in camp. They love his scrappiness, his toughness, and for an offensive line that they're trying to change the way that they go about doing business, they think Millum is like the dirtbag that they need to kind of get them to another level. And then finally, you fantasy guys, keep an eye on Bashar Tootin. There are a lot of people that are excited about what he could be in this offense. People will initially peg him as a number 3 running back, but he might be the workhorse guy by the time it's all said and done. Coming from Virginia Tech, where you saw the explosive plays, they got some stuff going. And so he certainly helps that. And we've seen the Rams for years win with these lower ranked, these lower round picks, find ways to get those guys on the field. That's why I'm saying Jalen McLeod, Rayun Lane, 6th-round picks. Don't be surprised when you hear the name called early and often for the Jags.
Yeah, I like it. I think the Jags really helped themselves this draft. I thought they had a good draft. They took a big swing with Travis Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
And what did you think of Gladstone's comments after the draft, where he said this draft? He basically said what we did there is how we're going to operate. No fear is basically what he said when he talked about trading from 5 to 2. That they're going to swing their sword and they're not going to play scared. What did you think of that? Because that's an expensive move up for a guy who's less than 190 pounds and plays corner and wide receiver. There's some people that looked at that kind of sideways, but I thought he had an interesting answer, though.
Yeah, very interesting. But you know what? He is sat at the knee of Les Snead for all those years in the Rams. Remember, Les Snead is the one that coined the phrase F them picks. Mm-hmm. And there is some truth to that, because when they said F them picks and they made the trade, it helped their team win a Super Bowl. And so Gladstone is certainly trying to follow suit, not only in being bold with their moves, but bringing in guys who did everything in the process. Lance, something that was big with him was guys that participated in the bowl game and played in the bowl game, meaning the all-star games. Everyone has an opportunity to opt out, but they want guys that opt in. We will see if those kind of worker bee players can kind of change the culture in the locker room. Let's go to the AFC West. Everyone talks about the Kansas City Chiefs. We thought they were about to win another title. They get knocked off. But the Kansas City Chiefs still are at the top of the division. What do you think about the rest of the rivals?
Well, I think the Kansas City Chiefs, to me, the Chiefs they're the team to beat, obviously. But when you look at the teams in terms of who are going to chase them down, I think the Broncos added a good pick in Jahdae Barron. He fits the third corner mold of what they needed. But I'm looking at the Chargers, and I don't know how you can answer anybody but the Chargers. You added a workhorse power threat in Omarion Hampton. You grabbed Trey Harris, who I think can step in and immediately challenge Quentin Johnson and challenge Mike Williams for snaps. Jamari Caldwell is a very active third-round defensive lineman who I think is going to be able to create some disruption as a rotational defensive lineman. The rest of their draft I think is just okay, but those top 3, those top 86 picks, they help right away. And it's not like – I know the last game of the year against the Texans was a bad one, but it's not like the Chargers are very far away. And this is only year 2, of the hardball way. So I think that they've got – Bucky, I really think of all the divisions we'll talk about, the Chargers have the best chance to catch a division champ, the leader. The Chiefs have to prove to me, and I like what the Chiefs did in the draft, but I still think, I'm not sure the Chiefs are not maybe vulnerable finally for, to be overtaken. I'm seeing it with my Houston Astros in baseball. You can have a long run, but eventually guys get older, guys leave, you start losing pieces, you start getting older, and a young upstart will come up. And I think that's the Chargers this year. I think they got a great chance to knock out the Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm with you right there. And I'm going to tell you, man, seeing the visual of Omarion Hampton shaking hands with the coaches, including Jim Harbaugh, I knew he was big because when guys are listed at 6 foot 221, man, he looks like a superhero when he's there shaking hands with all of the coaches and front office people. So I'm really impressed with what he can do. And I think he and Najee Harris are going to be a nice tandem. I would expect Hampton to be the lead dog, Najee Harris to kind of be the complement, but 2 big backs should certainly help them. And they found a way initially to keep J.K. Dobbins. We'll see if he stays in the fold. Trey Harris, the vertical threat that they've needed. Lab McConkey is everything, but more horizontal plays than vertical plays. And then you get someone that can truly stretch the top out the defense. Man, that makes it's such a big difference for how they want to play with Herbert. And then the last guy that I'll say that I'm really in, 2 guys I'm intrigued by. Kyle Kennard from South Carolina. When you watch his tape, man, he is all over the place, just a relentless sucker. And then the guy that you said that you didn't understand why people are sleeping on him, R.J. Mickens, from Clemson, son of Ray Mickens, goes there in the 6th round. We just know how he's going to come in, man. He is a guy who is rock solid in everything that he does. He just does it right all the time. It's not flashy, no fanfare, but he makes a lot of plays. I think he has a chance. I think he has a perfect opportunity to kind of make his name known in the Chargers secondary.
This could really end up being a memorable draft for the Chargers when people look back at this, because I think Mickens is way better than a 6th-round pick. I think Branson Taylor, if he stays healthy, the tackle to guard transition in the 6th round they got from Pitt, he's got some injury issues. He's got some durability issues, but he is a body mover. And so if you can keep him healthy, I think he fits what Jim Harbaugh wants to do for sure.
All right, Lance, so we're back. And you're excited, man. You want to get to the NFC. You must have some stuff that you want to brew on. Which division do you want to go first? You want to go east or west?
Let's go east. So because you're sitting there with the Eagles. How are we going to knock off the Eagles? Who is going to knock off the Eagles? The Giants are a long way. You got the Cowboys, you got the Commanders. When I look at this, I don't see a lot of immediate help for the Commanders. I think they've got some guys that may need a little bit of time. You look at the Cowboys, they had 9 picks. They picked up a pass rusher in Izuaraku from Boston College. They got a powerful guard with an attitude to step in for Zach Martin. They got Savon Ravel, who is going to be, I think, an immediate cornerback 3 over there in Dallas. You got Jaden Blue, who can come out of the backfield. I think it's got to be the Cowboys. And I understand the issues the Cowboys have, but let's not act like the Cowboys don't have some pieces. The Cowboys have pieces, and I think when you look at the draft, they had a fairly impactful draft. They've got some guys they added that I think either fit holes or have some impact potential, including Jaden Blue from Texas, who they got in the 5th round.
Look, man, the Cowboys have kind of done it in a different way in terms of like kind of old school principles, right? Like we've kind of grown accustomed to seeing this team kind of do it with flash and pizzazz, and they kind of took a meat and potatoes approach to the guys that they got. I love what they were able to do at the first pick. Like Booker gives them an identity, gives them an attitude, gives them the physicality that they need. And then look, man, there's a Raku coming off the edge, and I just had these visions of him playing 2-man games with Michael Parsons. Really good picks for this team and where they are. But I'm going to the New York Giants. And the reason I'm going to go with the Giants, everyone's going to talk about the quarterback, and we can get to the quarterback. But when I look at what they're doing on defense, first bringing in Abdul Carter, another pass rusher that can come off the edge but can play linebacker for them. So now you have Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns, you have Dexter Lawrence, you have Abdul Carter in the starting lineup. Man, that is a lot to deal with in one-on-one blocking situations. You add another defensive tackle in Darius Alexander to put alongside Dexter Lawrence, 2 big men who are nimble, dancing bears, heavy-handed. They love the violence. I can tell you that, having kind of watched them get down. This team is pretty good in terms of like their defense. And then finding the quarterback that they believe is the guy that can take them to the next level. These guys played in Buffalo with Josh Allen. They love what Josh Allen was able to do, not only on the field, but the intangibles that he added to the locker room. And Jackson Dart, they believe they're getting someone similar. Now, we will see if their games are similar and translate, but they will give Jackson Dart every opportunity to play like he played at Ole Miss. And so if everyone can get on board, maybe this team can not only get up off the map, but maybe they can be a viable playoff contender this season.
AFC North, NFC North, the Lions are the defending champs. They lost both their coordinators. Their draft, I think, was kind of average, was very average. They really addressed the trenches quite a bit, but I'm not sure it's going to be – there's a lot of impact in there right off the bat. And, the division was kind of up for grabs last year with the Packers, at one point Packers and Vikings, but they fell off and the Lions stayed steady. This may surprise some people a little bit, but I'm going to go with the Chicago Bears. I like what the Packers did. I like what the Vikings did, but the Bears added Colston Loveland and Luther Burden and Ozzie Trapillo. I think Trapillo will probably start off as a swing tackle, but may have a chance. Chicago's going to have to see if he can play left tackle. If he can play left tackle, that gets interesting in the battle over there on the left side. But I think Shamar Turner in the 2nd round, Luther Burden in the 2nd round, and Colston Loveland in the 1st round, immediate helps to that team. They've got some rush already. They got some dudes in the secondary. They upgraded their offensive line, and Caleb Williams is in year 2. and they got the most creative play caller in all of football, who's now the head coach. I think the Bears are in a worst to first potential scenario in the NFC North. I think they got that shot.
Okay, man, I'm gonna go with the Green Bay Packers. And look, Go Pack Go is ringing in my ears, maybe because the draft was on location. But I'm looking at them, and they take Matthew Golden, and then come back and take Savion Williams from TCU. And Golden, you get a polished receiver who can be a hybrid wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2 that you can put out there, and he is going to make plays as a route runner and playmaker. And Savion Williams, you just got to get the ball and get out the way type player. Some would say maybe he is Cordero Patterson. Maybe he can give you something that is different than being your normal traditional receiver. And watching him execute the Wildcat for the Horned Frogs and watching him touch the ball a bunch of different ways and kind of figure it out, man, there has to be a role that he can play. And I'm willing to bank that Matt LaFleur is going to figure out a way to use a 6'4", 222-pound playmaker that can do it in a variety of ways. And then the last one that will kind of stand out to me is, man, big boy from Texas, Barron Sorrell, being able to kind of come and add to what they already has, which is a collection of playmakers on the edges. He is going to be, a guy that's given an opportunity to develop. But, man, if it works for him, and also Allen Oliver from Oklahoma State. Remember, man, this dude had a lot of production at one point throughout his career. I just know that when the Packers kind of invest in these guys, they're looking for guys who are productive, and they're going to give them every opportunity, first to earn their way on special teams and then to make plays as part of the rotation.
I'll let you go first in the NFC South. The reigning champs are the Tampa Bay Bucks. Can anyone catch them?
I don't know if anyone caught them because, man, I just love what they were able to do on the draft. But we'll go and let's talk about the New Orleans Saints and what they were able to do. And look, it's risky in a way in terms of what they did. First, Kelvin Banks taking him at 9, first round, 9th overall. There were a lot of people that were talking about him late, kind of being in the process as a top 10 player. But for them to take him and say, hey, we got a true left tackle, a guy that can play and go right away. When you look at the tape, obviously you see the talent and those things. You just don't see the consistent dominance or violence that maybe you want to see. But there's no doubt that he is a really, really good player. But look, I think this draft hinges on what Tyler Shutt is able to do as a quarterback. 2nd round pick, 7-year guy, Oregon, Texas Tech, Louisville, showed up at Louisville and showed out. Has talent. When you see him walk around, he's the prototype, interviewed well, all those things. The big thing that makes him the X factor is, can he play to his potential? If he plays to his potential, the New Orleans Saints are right up there and they're going to be marching in. But if not, man, they're going to be back in the wheel looking for another quarterback in the next couple of years. So a lot of their success hinges on Tyler Shutt being able to play early and being able to play well in a league that typically eats up quarterbacks and throws them out.
Because of what you just said, that's why I can't go with the Saints. I got to go with the Falcons. We know the Falcons have Bijan Robinson, dynamic, tight running back. Kyle Pitts, I don't even know what Kyle Pitts is right now. I mean, we keep waiting for Kyle Pitts. So I can't just sit here and say Kyle Pitts, but, well, I mean, in theory, Kyle Pitts. They got some wide receivers. They've got some decent offensive linemen. They needed help on defense. And to me, you got Jalen Walker and James Pierce, who are two of the most high-impact rushers from the SEC that you're going to find. And then on top of that, you got 2 ball hawks, Xavier Watts and Billy Bowman. And I get that Xavier Watts has average speed. Billy Bowman's undersized. But these dudes are straight ball hawks, tremendous instincts, the ability to flip the field. I just think when you look at the first 4 picks and you say Walker, Pierce, Watts, and Bowman, all 4 of those guys can have an impact on in their rookie year. Now, we go to quarterback. Is this draft going to be the what turns it? No, it's going to be Michael Penix playing well. So obviously a lot rests on Michael Penix. But, you know, it feels like the NFC South is always a little bit tenuous. You're always an injury away from a team just completely tumbling. I think the Falcons are a team who really helped themselves in the draft. And I think from the spirit of just who helped themselves the most from the draft, that can beat the Tampa Bay Bucks. I would say it's definitely the Falcons because I do have some faith that Michael Penix can be good enough when you have a running back like Bijan Robinson.
Look, he certainly can be good enough. We'll see if they finally can get it together because this is a team that we'll always talk about, man, the greatest that never was if they're not able to get it together. Let's go to the West. Everyone understands what the Rams are and how they have really been able to surprise people and kind of, I guess, orchestrate their own takeover. But who do you like? Cardinals, Seahawks, um, 49ers? Which teams do you believe have really closed the gaps on the Rams?
It's really tough. I'm probably gonna. You kind of have to use what's already on the roster. I like the draft the Seattle Seahawks had, but I don't know that I'm ready to. You got brand new wide receivers over there, including Cooper Kupp, who's an older player. We don't know what he has left.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that the Cardinals had some high ceiling, low floor picks in their first three. So I got to go 49ers. I think by default, you've got pieces that have already been in place. You really address the defensive front. Nick Martin is a tremendous athlete with some rush at with the third pick, the second pick, Alfred Collins. I think if they get his weight under control, he looks like a 49er defensive lineman, as does Mykel Williams, who can play outside as a stand-up rusher. So, you got a very, very competitive slot corner in Upton Stout with the 100th pick of the draft, which most slots his size do not get drafted there. That should tell you what the 49ers think of him. To draft a 5'9" slot corner with, who weighs less than 190 pounds, to draft him at 100, they like him a lot. And then, I think Jordan James, the running back in the 5th round, and Marcus Siegel, the safety in the 5th round. Don't sleep on these guys. Siegel has really incredible explosiveness and speed, but Jordan James, running back from Oregon, all they do is find running backs just to come up and have big Jordan Mason. We saw with him a couple of years ago. Now we got Jordan James from Oregon, who's a one-cut back who I think can step in and have an immediate impact as a second running back over there with the 49ers. So I'm going to go 49ers. They already have pieces in place. I like what they did with the draft. They really attacked their defense with the first 100 picks. Frankly, the first 113 picks, because C.J. West was in the 4th round. So I'm going to go 49ers in that division.
Look, man, I can't knock the hustle. I dig the 49ers and what they've been able to do. I'm going to go with the Arizona Cardinals. And the only reason I'm going with the Arizona Cardinals, I think Monty Austin-Ford and Jonathan Gannon are really cooking with gas when it comes to rebuilding this team. They have a clear plan for what they want to do. I like what Walter Nolan provides them as an interior disruptive playmaker, someone who has the ability to really get in the cracks and make things happen as a run defender and pass rusher. Love that. And then I love the fact that they just kept shopping in the Big Ten. I mean, we just rattled it off. Will Johnson coming, giving them a nice corner on the other side, a guy who was really viewed as a top 15 player, but now he lands in the 2nd round. Jordan Birch, Energizer Bunny coming off the edge. Oregon gives them something. Cody Simon, who is a see-ball, get-ball defender, all those things. And then I would say kind of finish it off with a guy like Denzel Burke, someone that can kind of play multiple spots in the back end in terms of that sub-package defender. I love it, man. I just think it is solid. They know exactly who they are. They're leaning into what I would call a smart, tough football player as they're trying to change the dynamics of the locker room. I think Austin-Ford and Gannon have really knocked it out of the park. This is a really solid draft, in my opinion, in Arizona.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do like, like I said, high ceiling, low floor, but the ceiling is really high for the 3 guys that they took in the first 3 picks. So, and I did not think Gannon. I'll admit it. You don't judge the book by the cover. I think people did that with Dan Campbell at the introductory, and everyone saw the Jonathan Gannon, the kind of woo 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 woo, the weird little thing that he was doing with Buda Baker, and everyone thought, oh my God, he's way over his head. Man, that team has played hard. Gannon's done a great job over there.
He really has, Lance. Is one of the things that I've really been surprised in terms of like how they've been able to kind of get down and what they've been able to do. Because I'll be honest with you, man, I didn't see it like that. I didn't think that he would have like that kind of impact on them. But man, he's been terrific, man. He's been really good for them. He's kind of figured out a way to like make it happen. So I'm gonna give him his props. I mean, I did not see him being a guy that I'm eventually thinking can be like a high level coach, a coach that we revere and really celebrate. But he's done a really good job, and this team is positioned to challenge the teams at the top of the division.
I would agree with you. Well, that's a wrap, Buck. Cool. That's a wrap.
That is a wrap, Lance. We went through it so quickly. I appreciate you stepping in for DJ, I got to say this personally. I appreciate all the hard work that you did throughout the process, doing the stuff that we did over the course of the weekend, covering every pick, all 257 of the picks. You being able to drop nuggets on all of them because you did 450 profiles for NFL.com. That was great. You should be applauded and celebrated. And so hopefully when the old lady gets back from the stuff, she'll take you out to dinner and make sure she appreciates you.
I'm hoping. I mean, it seems like no one appreciates me in this house. I mean, I got to wait for my daughter to get back for somebody to show me some love. My dog, that's it. And Bucky Brooks, I appreciate that, Bucky.
That's right. Well, until next time, I'm Bucky Brooks. That was Lance Z. This is Move the Sticks. Make sure you check us out next week when we drop a couple more new pods.